I was on Clubhouse twice. I went in, saw my brother because he used to play in there quite a bit, and I found it disgusting. They were all screaming at each other. I didn't like it. It didn't have a good feeling. And when Elon bought Twitter, that really impressed me. I was like, hey, let me go check this social media out because I had never done any of this. I have never been on radio or TV. My brother is the guy that likes, he likes the camera. He works it. He focuses on consumers. I have never focused on consumers. Go for big corporates. If I'm doing something with Visa or Exxon Mobil or somebody like that, they probably don't want to hear about, what I'm doing in the public, and they most certainly don't want a politically vocal, aggressive human being. So I just stayed in the shadows a bit because it served me. This whole world started popping up, and I had become a fairly serious investor in Bitcoin. As all of that started happening, I'm like, hey, if Elon's really going to open up a platform, I have a duty to at least stick my nose in this and express my opinion. Nobody wants to listen, cool. While the platform's there and there's a bunch of crap going on, a la no freedom, and we're taking everyone's freedom away. I literally listened to Spaces for about 6 months. One Saturday afternoon, I said, I don't think there's anything really magic to all this stuff. I think you just got to hit the button. I hit a button, and I wanted to understand, can I run a room? I'm really good at this. I wanted to experiment with, could I run a room that my mother could come into and she would be okay with? Meaning that it was respectful, it was intelligent, people aren't screaming at each other. That Saturday afternoon, that room would go for 6 hours. And I was staggered. I'm like, wow, I can hold a room together for 6 hours. That's interesting. So I played around with quite a bit of that, and then I started moving it. The Bitcoin people started coming. I remember Grant saying something going, hey, this topic isn't big enough to help people. I'm like, bro, you have no clue how big Bitcoin is.
Hello, welcome to The Money Adjustment. I'm your host, Dr. Marc Kramer, DC. I am a chiropractor who loves investing and trading. Are you interested in what's moving markets and your money? Great. Too. Let's get started.
That's what Gary Cardone's doing. I'm not buying or investing in businesses right now. I'm buying Bitcoin. It's a better investment. I have no human error risk. I have no legal contracts. I have no lawyers to be included. I don't have to sign an NDA. I have no paperwork to file or to keep. All I have to do is show my account. That's what I bought. I don't have a clock. I don't have a boss. I don't have a government, a DOJ that can go, hey, you have to stop that behavior. It's phenomenal, dude. Phenomenal.
Yeah.
And I've been doing this my whole life, okay? Literally, Bitcoin, I think God just put Bitcoin on the map just for me. Yeah, that's right, buddy.
Yeah. So, Gary Cardone, I'm very happy to have you on today. I've been interviewing people from your space. I say your spaces because the people I talk to, like, you're the man in the spaces. So I want to give you, just so you know what you're walking into here, because this is the first time we're actually talking to each other. This is our first introduction together. So I'm just casually looking at my phone from time to time, getting push notifications from X, and your spaces kept coming up, like these Bitcoin spaces. And I was like, all right, I'm kind of curious what's going on in here. And so I was casually listening. To be honest with you, I wasn't a Clubhouse guy. I wasn't a Spaces guy. I didn't listen to any of that. I was a YouTube guy. I just like watch YouTube and be interested in what people have to say, learning from that direction, that platform. And then I started listening in on these spaces, and my mind was kind of blown away because just so many smart people and very intelligent conversation. Most of the time, very intelligent conversations. I mean, it's open to the public, so you're gonna get some interesting people from time to time. But I think I'm sharing this with you because I think it's really cool what you're doing to even create that space for people of that mind to come together and have these conversations. I mean, you have different conversations. It's not just always about Bitcoin, but Bitcoin seems to be something that you've anchored yourself to a bit. And I want to give you flowers one more time for the I am. I am. The
You.
I Am Church, partly in preparation for this interview, I logged in. I wanted to make sure that I did it real time and when you started it. And when you started that, there was something that you said that really resonated with me. And it made me feel like exactly how I feel when I do these podcasts.
I don't know if you guys have ever done this before, but this is I will say this is a act of, um, this is an act of faith. I have no idea what I'm doing here. I was telling somebody the other night, they're like, "Hey, why are you doing this?" I'm doing this because I've literally been compelled to do it. I never thought I would be sitting in front of a bunch of people saying, "I am compelled to do something."
I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't exactly know why I'm doing this. Something told me, hey, man, start a podcast. So I started a podcast. And honestly, I could have done a podcast on yoga. I love yoga. I'm a yogi. I know you're an artist. You probably could have done a podcast on art and painting. But going back to what you said, it's that feeling like, I don't know. I just feel compelled to do it. So when you did I Am this weekend, you started off that way. And I just felt like everybody was like right there with you because people who are listening to that, I don't know what the final total was on your what would you call it, live stream on that one, but I think it was when I was on there, it was over 2,800 people were watching at one point.
It's very interesting, Mark. I was on Clubhouse twice. I went in and saw my brother because he used to play in there quite a bit, and I found it disgusting. They were all screaming at each other, and this seemed to be like a COVID thing where people were just. Anyway, for me, it was extremely. I didn't like it. It didn't have a good feeling, and then when Elon bought Twitter, that really impressed me. I was like, hey, let me go check this social media out because I had never done any of this. I have never been on radio or TV. My brother's the guy that he likes the camera. He works it. He focuses on consumers. I've never focused on consumers. I go for big corporates and they don't want you if I'm doing something with Visa or Exxon Mobil or somebody like that, they probably don't want to hear about, what I'm doing in the public. And they most certainly don't want a politically vocal, aggressive human being. So I just stayed in the shadows a bit because it served me. But as COVID wound down, this whole world started popping up and I had become a fairly serious investor in Bitcoin. I began seeing information inside the platform. One, there was some really cool information. Two, I saw it as if people actually paid $20 a month, that it was a platform that during the pretend presidency, that period, communication shut down. A guy like me was literally looking to be hammered. I'd already been I was under FTC probe. I had the DOJ look at me. I had the IRS look at me. I had all these three-letter agencies banging on the door. Spent 4.5 years, $7 million defending a case that the government would come back and go, hey, look, we think you owe us $100 grand. 4 years, $7 million in legal fees, and the crime was $100 grand. It wasn't a crime. It was, hey, write me a check for $100 grand. As all of that started happening, I'm like, hey, if Elon's really going to open up a platform, I have a duty to at least stick my nose in this and express my opinion. Nobody wants to listen, cool. But while the platform's there and there's a bunch of crap going on, a la no freedom, we're taking everyone's freedom away. I lived in Europe for 15 years. I'm watching what's happening in Europe. And what is happening in Europe will happen here if we don't stamp it down right now. And that's what I did. I literally listened to Spaces for about 6 months. One Saturday afternoon, I said, I don't think there's anything really magic to all this stuff. I think you just got to hit the button. I hit a button, and I wanted to understand, can I run a room? I'm really good at this. I wanted to experiment with, could I run a room that my mother could come into and she would be okay with? meaning that it was respectful, it was intelligent, people aren't screaming at each other. That Saturday afternoon, that room would go for 6 hours. And I was staggered. I'm like, wow, I can hold a room together for 6 hours. That's interesting. So I played around with quite a bit of that. And then I started moving it. The Bitcoin people started coming. I remember Grant saying something going, hey, this topic isn't big enough to help people. I'm like, bro, you have no clue how big Bitcoin is. Because Bitcoin is this really interesting neutral thing that's like, there's strings and attachments to Bitcoin it's a platform sitting on top of what we're doing. This is a platform, right? We're communicating with each other, but Bitcoin's this topic that if you're open-minded and willing to like discover what you think you know that's not true, it's just not true. Okay? Like people should really inventory, what do I think I know for sure? And just challenge, maybe it's not really true. Well, what if? Because I've seen a lot of people lose a tremendous amount of money being absolutely certain about something. In fact, it was just built on bullshit, right? Like my whole entire life around America. My entire life around America, the presidency of John F. Kennedy changed with a bullet or 4 bullets or 10 bullets or however many bullets, but he died. And the trajectory of this country was never the same. And no one's ever actually admitted the truth to what happened. That's 68 years ago, 65, 60 years ago, right? So the platform really was away from, and I was lonely, man. I was lonely. I'm like, hey, I on a Saturday afternoon, get hammered, probably pick up some chick. But like, how long is that going to last? And I've done all that. So it's kind of like, I know where that's going to go. And, I'm very critical of the education system, Mark. Extremely critical of the education system. And I looked at X and educators. Okay? I think educators have an obligation to be educators and to be entertaining and excellent and like engage your user, man. Otherwise, get the fuck out of the way. Why are you sitting in a schoolroom being boring? It's horrible, right? Like it's just so bad. So the more I dug into this, the more I'm like, hey, look, that I'm paying $20 a month for. I think there's other people like you out there that I would like to build a community, a virtual but real community with real authenticity. And the bigger this thing gets, remember, I started this from fear. The bigger my community gets, my tribe, our tribe, your tribe, the stronger we get. Because you and I, if we're polarized, we are weak. The government will take it all. If we are collectively together and just say, fuck you, no more, stop it, knock it off, we're not voting for you, we will resist it, we're not paying our taxes, we're not going to work tomorrow morning. We got to get our shit together, man. So that's how I got involved with it. And then the further I go down the rabbit hole, one Saturday night, 2 o'clock in the morning, I have this message hit me while I'm painting, minding my own business. Thinking about, I would really love to be able to go to church somewhere, but I just don't trust any religions anymore. I have studied 4 religions in depth, and right or wrong, I've come to the conclusion that when you include man in a religion, it destroys the whole thing. It just seems to be like everybody turns it into a cult, and then they do stupid shit, and then they start erasing information and giving you only so much information. And so I thought I would go, hey, what's really helped me? What's helped me is so many books that I have read over my whole life. And what really helps me is me taking responsibility for being God and saying, I am excellent. I did not show up here by mistake. The Bitcoin actually, look, Bitcoin, for those that don't understand this, there's a fixed unit, 21 million units. And that means it's rare. There's never going to be more than 21 million. This is not like crude oil. 21 million units, they're all in the market, it's not going to change. As we have argued for years over the pricing of something, because people in Bitcoin, hey, what's the value of Bitcoin? It's $109,000 right this second. What's it really worth? What it made me think about was the value of Bitcoin is wrapped into its supply constraints. And I started thinking, well, if one of 21 million is so unique, and we're struggling establishing a value. Maybe the reason is that you and I don't, we only know how to do price because you are one of one. And I can't tell you how many times I have stepped over, pushed away, disregarded, insulted, criticized a guy like you or any other person just because, oh, wow, you have a beard. I don't. You must be Middle Eastern. I'm not. Okay? Like, I'm a racist, sexist pig, just like every other human being on this planet, because if I don't understand something, I judge it. Okay. And I think the more we just get honest with that, and I go, learn something from Mark, I don't need to. The enemy is not you. The enemy is these people that don't do what we're doing. So let's
Man,
build a tribe, dude. I want to build a tribe. It's the only
I
way we're going to.
Dude, I have to jump in there because I mean you called me out directly, but I love you for doing that, and I love you for just being honest about it too. Because like a person like you may or may not have been in my universe as well, because of either you not wanting to interact with me, or vice versa, or I get a vibe from you, or you get a vibe from me, and we say, you know what, this is I'm not each other, and
I mean,
it's
people
yeah,
are really weird too because they'll get a vibe about my brother and have a vibe on me. I mean, that's
right,
really weird, right?
right.
You see what people do? I mean, just people get vibes, and it's like, well, it does not mean that it's right, man. You've done no investigation.
Right, right. Because you brought it up. Like, I think to myself, I'm not a camera person either. Like, it's funny that I'm doing something like this. I'd much rather, I love the spaces because it's just people talking. There's kind of, it's easier to just push the button and just get to the heart of the matter, if you will, even if you go through it through the mind. So, pushing through those discomforts and doing something like this and creating opportunities like this for someone like you and someone like me to actually have a conversation. I listen to your spaces and I love a lot of what you have to say, especially when it comes to money. Just to give you a quick rundown, like I've been following Bitcoin since 2008, but I didn't have any skin in the game until 2020. In 2020, around the 7K level, I was like, there's something to this. I think we need to check it out. They had like Mike Novogratz on CNBC and Anthony Pompliano. And so I'd see these guys and they made a compelling case. So I'm like, oh, wait a minute. This isn't just some fringe asset. There's something really tangible happening here. And even beyond that, so like I like joke now, I'm like a slow learner because I've been following it since 2008. Didn't dawn on me to get involved until 2020. And now we're at 2025. And I'm like, shoot, I think I need to have cold storage. I think I need some self-sovereignty. I think I need the independence aspect of it. I think I need the stuff that people aren't talking about. I'm at a place now, I'm price agnostic. Like, I think when you start to get to appreciate what the actual technology is, what the foundational layer of what the community, and it is a community and it is tribal, there's something that transcends. Bitcoin is an asset that everybody I talk to, they go, I can go so many different directions with this. We always get hung up on price, like price goes up, price goes down. But when we start to appreciate what's the actual technology, what are you actually investing in? I heard you in preparation for this interview. I was listening to a couple of your other podcasts, and you were saying like a $2 trillion asset doesn't go away. We are now
Never,
at we
never
have
failed.
yes, we have like de-risked it. So even though the price is higher, it's like, oh man, I could have gotten in, I could have had more at a lower level. I'm like, I didn't understand it. Maybe it was better off that I wasn't in it at a lower level because now I actually understand what I'm trying to accomplish with it. And I'll just start stacking and I won't care about what the price is and I'll just stack.
Yeah, look, I think as your conviction goes up, it should not be about price. It should be more about, oh, wow, I'm actually acquiring a piece of unique real estate, a unique asset class that's its own asset. There's no assets in the world that are their own asset classes. Bitcoin's the only asset that is literally in its own bucket. Oil, I mean, energy has nat gas, electricity, gasoline, distillates. It's a very unique 1990s kind of opportunity to get into the internet. I mean, if I told you that 1995 you were going to build Amazon for 50 cents, I mean, that's what we're doing here. Okay, and by the way, there are four shareholders still of Amazon today, and they're all with the last name Bezos. They never sold. So the stock went up and down, I think 8 times, had 90, 80, 90% retractions. And the question about Amazon, hey, when should you have sold Amazon? It went down 90% 8 times. And the answer is never. Never. Okay. Look, the truth is, and you're probably just a smart guy. In 2008, the people in crypto did not know how to sell Bitcoin. So they were so like, there's no chance of me deploying 86% of my net worth into Bitcoin in 2013 or 16. No chance. Today, I would do it in a heartbeat. I mean, in an absolute heartbeat. In fact, I would take a discount on most of my legacy assets to just get out of it. And I think this is people don't understand. After you've been around on this planet long enough, if you have invested in assets, I have assets I can't just unwind. I own interest in companies. I can't just call the guy, hey, I want my money back. I can't call the guy that I invested in real estate with and go, hey, bro, those 7 funds I'm in, I'd like to liquidate. He's like, well, cool, dude, but what about the other people sitting in the fund? So these are instruments that have duration. I don't have control on when I get in and get out, but otherwise I would contract all of that and push it into the Bitcoin industry.
Yeah, I think along the same lines of what you're saying, I feel more confident investing, allocating higher now, even at a higher price, because to your point, I actually see the potential of it. It's like, it's surprising to me how long it took to actually kind of have the epiphany of what was actually going on here. Like, I had Joe on like a week ago, and Joe was talking about how we're not even, Joe said, I want to tear it apart. He's like, I went into it to break it down, to prove why it wasn't going to work, to tell you why it's not right. And then through that process, and he's a litigator. He's got a litigious mind. So he's like going through it, and he's like, wait a minute, this could actually work. And so having that analytical process about it, that's, I'm tapping into, and you might resonate with this, where it challenges you as an individual. It sounds strange to say, but as an asset, because it has you question your deepest beliefs about money and what money actually is. And then when you go down that rabbit hole, and it is a rabbit hole, because no matter how many people, it's like, wow, how many times can you talk about Bitcoin? And I'm like, seems like no matter how many times I'm talking about it, there's always some little nook and cranny to uncover, and something new emerges, and new understanding. Some of it's personal. Even with you, a lot of yours is a personal story. I heard you last night. I was on the spaces you do in the evening, and you were talking about, I just want to be free. I just want the freedom. I just want to have, and again, to your point, that asset that is your asset. You have the keys, you have the ownership. It's not about, partners and a community. It's odd. Now I'm thinking about this. I want your take on this. It's not about a community, but it is communal at the same time.
Yeah. Look, if Bitcoin didn't have the community effect to it, I wouldn't know that it wasn't there. But I do know that it's there. Okay, there is a community. You don't have to be involved in the community.
Right. True.
I could have tens of millions of dollars of Bitcoin and not cool, don't know anything about what's going on. However, if Facebook's valued at $2.5 trillion, $2 trillion, Google's 3 trillion, something like that. I think these are social engines, right? And therefore, if they're social platforms, buried inside of Google's stock price is, what is their stock price? They're $174 right now a share. I can't see the market cap, but it's a monster, nearly 3 trillion. If they get paid a premium, or some part of that $175 is a part of the community, the network effect. That word, network effect. Network effect means community. However, The network effect that Wall Street's talking about is just a bunch of robotic kids on Facebook just TikToking away. We're building community. Okay, community has more depth than TikTok, Mickmock, Licklock. That was what Clubhouse was. Just a bunch of anarchy, crazy people, but no production, man. No creative, long, sustainable. You can't argue every day and believe that a tribe is going to sustain itself and grow. You have to like get some common ground and then start bringing other people into this gravity. Now, why am I saying this? $100,000. You and I could literally spend this entire interview talking about the community value of Bitcoin. And I don't think there's a dollar or a penny of value cooked into 110,000. I would never have fucking met you, bro. I would never have met Josie. I have 30 friends today that will be lifetime friends. I have been in 4 industries. I do not have lifetime friends from 4 industries. 30 people from every industry calling me going, Happy New Year. Hey, buddy, I was just thinking about you. That doesn't happen. You leave an industry, you leave a business. I've built 4 of these fucking businesses. And you leave them and people like, they're on to their next life and you're on to your next life. But this community effect, I'm telling you, okay, my brother's in Bitcoin today because of me, okay? I'm friends with Michael Saylor, Fong Lee, it's strategy. I mean, I have some Mark Yusko. I have some awesome friends. I came into this industry 4 years ago. Like, that's the other thing. People are like, bro, where did you come from? I fell in love with this industry. You know what? There are no closed doors here. In every industry I have ever been in, I was buying 500 million cubic feet a day from ExxonMobil every day for 3 years before they would have lunch with me. Before I could buy lunch for ExxonMobil, low-level guys too, man, VPs, directors. The arrogance of these industries are staggering. I call Mike Novogratz. In fact, I shouldn't use Mike because Mike's about the only one I haven't gotten to. But I call everybody, man. Head of NIDIC. Hey, man, coming into town next week. My name's Gary Cardone. Would love to have. They don't know who I am. I mean, they know he's a safe point. I've not been told no once, okay? That's the way you build information, intelligence, community. I've had people that completely disagree with my politics, which I'm starting to think I might disagree with my own politics. But around Bitcoin, we have this North Star thing that is neutral. It's like Switzerland. Okay, whether you have a 2% allocation or a 100% allocation, look, I'm just glad you're in the club. I'm glad you're in the club, and I want you to get really rich and it is about number go up. Okay. Anybody listening to me, don't invest the way I do. It's insane. It's not insane, actually. It's just not. Most people don't do this. Okay. It's just what I do. If I'm not all in, I'm not gonna get excited. I'm not gonna be here. I'm gonna go focus on something that is, makes my heart pump. Anyway, I have met some unbelievable people. Okay. And if you really look at Facebook, go look at Facebook's chart 15 years ago. This is a 15-year-old champion that has not lost a horse race yet. And every horse regulator has tried to kick Bitcoin out of the horse running business. She's 16. She's been bred by one of I'm going to bet against that, okay? I'm going to bet against a 60-year-old horse versus purebred 16 years old, been attacked by everything. And its own owners attack it because the Bitcoin community has done monster damage to Bitcoin just because they didn't know what the hell is going on. I mean, you got a guy, we're saying Roger Ver could be worth $80 billion and he's sitting in a fucking prison in Spain for $50 million violation. That's just dumb, okay? The greatest money in the history of Bitcoin is getting ready to be made right here. You're not late, Mark. The greatest money ever made in Bitcoin has already been invested in Bitcoin in the last 3 years. More money in the last 2 years since the ETF has been invested in Bitcoin than all the years prior.
Can I piggyback off that, Gary?
Yeah.
So when I started to really get interested in 2020, and I'm like, man, I could have had it at $1 at 7K, 8K. That's about when I started to think about taking a position. And then I started to watch videos and I started to educate myself. And people would always say, you're still early, you're still early. And so like that whole cycle through 2021, 2022, I would hear people say you're early, and it's like, oh, the price is so high. And yeah, that price was high. It's like what was the peak then? Got up to 69K. Now we're almost double that. We will double that by the end of this year. Financial advice, right? So, but this time around, this cycle, I think that's why everybody almost has to go through a 4-year cycle to be educated. Now, people say I'm class of 2020, I'm class of 2015, I'm class of 2008. That's like the OG. So, like we have these classes, but to your point about being early, I get it now because if you're looking at $1 million plus asset, I don't know when, I don't know how, I don't know, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years even, or less. If you're looking at $1 million, if you understand the technology, this is where it can get evangelical. But if you understand the technology, if you look in it, you don't even have to understand the technology, because I don't think either you or I could explain blockchain to anybody that had a real technical background with it, because that's not our area of expertise. But if you
You can't
know that there's
you
oh,
can't
go ahead.
explain the way you can't explain to me the way your brakes work when you're doing 110 miles an hour on a wet road, or how you got to 110. I mean, I get in an airplane, I don't really know what the guidelines of that pilot are. Is the plane really been?
Right.
We do a lot of crazy shit, dude, and don't know a lot about it.
Absolutely. Like I'm a doctor. I had to take anatomy, physiology. I had to take biochemistry. I couldn't teach a biochemistry class now. But what that taught me is that I know there's people that understand it. I know that you can understand it if you decide that you want to understand it at that level. So when I think about something like the blockchain, I don't need to be able to explain the blockchain to you. I listen to the people that understand it, and I know they understand it, and they're peer to peer. They have to be able to communicate with each other. So I know there's that base layer of understanding. So I don't worry about that aspect of it. And if you could get past the fact that it's like you don't need to understand the technology, if you understand that there's people that understand the technology, and the bigger conceptual aspect of it, the important part of it is the store of value. To the point that keeps getting stressed, and it's the point that people really should start to link onto, is you have two competing. One's not a currency. One's money. We're going to get into the whole conversation, hard money versus fiat. But one's a currency that's printed into infinitum, the dollar. What is the value of anything when you're basing it off something that goes into infinity? You never know what the value is. But when something is finite, 21 million, then you can measure value. It's just, in my mind, that's like something that recently shifted. It's just like, wow, it really is kind of that easy. Just think about how you're valuing something. It's just easier to value something when you know what the denominator is. With the dollar, we have no idea what the denominator
It's
is.
not possible to value something when the denominator keeps changing. If I keep adding water to this coffee, I'm going to end up drinking water. Now, do I want to really pay $2 for it? That's inflation. Okay, that's inflation. The credit-based Ponzi system that people talk about. People don't understand. In order for the system to work, you have to constantly be creating new debt. You understand what I'm saying, right? Like there's a point in time where, let's say you and I meet on an island and let's create a money system. I'm going to create this little symbol. Okay, here I draw a little picture. I'm going to hand it to you. Now you have 1,000 units. You're going to owe me 1,100 units in 6 months of this. But if you think about it, oh, okay, that's a 10% interest rate. I'm going to owe 100. Where are the other 100 units going to come from? There's only 1,000 of these things printed. So I now have to go, just to know that you're going to be able to go find that 100 somewhere. I have to get another 100 out in the market so that you can go buy it from him, that other guy,
Right.
and then you have 1,100 units to give me. Okay, our system is designed that in order for the money and everything to grow, you must create more credit. out of thin air. Okay. It would be like me saying to you, hey, listen, it does not matter how fast you go or how far you go, you have an unlimited supply of gasoline. Well, gosh, that's not going to last forever. You're going to burn right through that gasoline because no one's going to value it. They're going to literally use gasoline to go 3 feet because it's free. Okay, but if you reverse it and go, oh wow, I just create money anytime I have a problem, would you not do that? Of course you would. Every time I have a pain, I'm going to inject a painkiller into my body. I will continue to inject painkillers into my body until there is no pain. And when the pain gets great enough, I will inject some more. And I will do it like, people talk about drug addiction, but I know people that last on heroin 40, 60, 70, 80 years. I mean, addicts don't die very frequently. I know we hear about the ones that die, but there's a lot of addiction that goes on for an entire lifetime. And that is the currency game that we're playing here. It's currency, okay? It's just current. It's literally they're making it up. Now, what you and I are doing, I think will have long-lasting value. Numbers and value are not the same thing. It took me a long time to go, oh, wow. A man told me once, he said, I know people that know the price of everything down to a penny and the value of nothing. And I thought about a family I was associated with once, and they would go 5 miles to get gasoline for a penny discount. And then they would hurry up home and drive the car into the garage and not use the gasoline. Now, how crazy is that? I drive extra to save a little penny, okay, but that took 15 minutes for my girlfriend. I could have actually given her a kiss and had a cup of coffee with her. So I could have had value, but instead I was like, I need to save some money. It's not money. It's a piece of paper, man, that people are creating literally. Now the damage comes when you see your kids and my kids going out into the world, 18, going, hey, you're going to make $15 an hour. They're not going to survive. Okay, it cost me $100 to go to the movie theater today. Mm-hmm. 2 kids, me. I mean, dude, $75 to $100. When you got to spend it's $75 to go to dinner with 2 kids. I go on a date, it's $300, man. It's $300, and I'm not a big drinker. And I can afford all this, but I'm looking around going, whoa, the spread between people like me and the rest of the world is getting really, really broad here, man. It's expanding, and that is a problem, right? You can't have a whole society just trapped on a machine. I'm actually very excited about AI because I think AI and Bitcoin are all conversing at the same time and space, when we may find out that the real value, keep talking about how many jobs this is going to displace. I actually think that 60 or 70% of the jobs that are currently held by people, the people hate the jobs. It is not their life's work. They get no value from it. They're literally prostituting themselves for $22 now. And that AI may be a window where I'd be so busy like a squirrel to get my nuts. I'm actually starting to think, imagine, create, follow my goals, follow my passion while I'm here. That's why I do the I am thing. Because I'm like, wow, I could 1,000 Bitcoin and be an asshole. I'm just going to be a really big asshole. That's it. And I don't want to live my life that way. And people shouldn't live that. We should be able to have great success, be happy, and be productive members of society. Jeez. Is that asking too much?
No, I 100% agree with all of that. I have 3 kids. I have, a wife. I'm married. But I always say I have a daughter in college and I have 1 in diapers. So I'm taking it coming and going. I remember my first child, And I just had to worry about the diapers. And I didn't even think about what happens when I thought about what happens when they go to college, but I was panicky. I would have never imagined that young man when I would tell him today, you're going to have the 3 kids, to just wait about that. But you get to like some kind of breaking point. I don't want to go too divergent off that. I just think about the generations, like you said too. Like I have kids in each generation. So I think about how challenging it's going to be for each one of them. Like it's if we feel the struggle, then our next generation is going to feel the struggle. And you've heard for a long time now how they said, or how we say the next generation doesn't do as well as the previous generation. It is odd to have that happen. And there's a lot of, we could get into wealth inequality, right? If you start to have this conversation.
Are we sure that I've done better than my generation? I think most people are actually living a better life than they ever have lived.
So wait, what generation are you though? What generation?
I was born in 1958. You call me a boomer.
Right. So like I'm Gen X. So we have the smallest population size. No, I'm not trying to make, I'm not trying to say that.
Yeah, but you guys should have clobbered it, right? But you didn't. See, when I left, seriously did.
It's kind of funny, but
1976, I finished college, high school. 1980, I finished college. That would be the very peak of the boomer population of people moving into the world of business and getting jobs. So everybody and their brother was trying to get a fucking job in a recession, in a monster recession, 81. Now, today I look around and a very broad range of age and friends. And I'm hearing the younger people really complain about, I can't buy a house. I can't own a house. Like, yeah, you shouldn't own a house. You're too young to own a house. Like, I don't know who thought that at 27, 30 years old, you're supposed to own your own house. First off, and there is no shame in renting a house. So like nobody in Pakistan has a right to own a house, or Iraq. Where does this bullshit come from? That a 28-year-old guy needs to own his own home. And he chose to live in California. Told my twin brother for 5 years he should leave California because he couldn't afford a house in California. And the truth is he could afford it, but when he moved to Florida, he made a lot more money. Life got more prosperous. One, he moved. He just left his location. That's a good thing, go on an adventure. I just, look, I think people are going to have to hustle. And we have economic conditions that are not going away. And to sit here and believe the government is going to fix this, you need to hustle, is what you need to do. I think your 18-year-old, your college student, is going to have a greater challenge than your youngest. Because they're getting ready to be, we're getting ready to have this period, probably going to last a couple, 2 or 3 years, where it's just going to be a vacuum. Man. There's going to be a lot of people lost in this gap between the analog world, and this is what I love about Bitcoin. Think about Bitcoin as, oh wow, you remember what an 8-track tape is, right? Cassette tape, 8-track tape, then the CD. We don't use any of those anymore, do we? Am I ever going to listen to Grand Funk Railroad on an 8-track tape again? No, dude, I'm not. Also, the marijuana I smoked when I was 16, technologically, it has advanced so much. Now, why? Technological gain is what I'm saying, okay? The digital technology that we're moving into, there is a point in time when I will not at 110 miles an hour because I've become the variable, man. I am the problem in a digital world. So I look at Bitcoin and go, wow, this whole thing's moving. The whole thing is moving from one of slowness and no transparency to speed, global commerce, people having tons of different options to be able to bifurcate the market, play with the market, extort the market, exploit the market. Like I live in both these worlds. And I think for Bitcoiners who go, hey, you need to live only in this world, that is foolish. Okay, I will arbitrage the legacy world as long as it will let me. And by arbitrage, I mean, once you own Bitcoin, you start to see monster gaps in this market. Opportunities that you're like, oh, wow, this is just like ExxonMobil. This is just like the oil business back in the 70s when it was being, in the 80s when it was being, shall we say, restructured or reformed away from a monopoly structure. So it's just a very exciting, like how you would want to miss another Internet 3.0 revolution to me would be, and I don't want to invest in companies that are creating weapons and bullets and killing people, man. That's the other cool thing. Bitcoin allows me a very clean hands investment approach. Remember when everybody was all worried about ESG? Like I'm worried about investing in shit that kills people. Okay, weapons, Raytheon. I'm never going to invest in Raytheon. Okay, it's not cool. I'm not going to support war machines. Like, I mean, since I was 16 years old, we've been arguing about going to war. 50 years, man. We're still warring little countries that, like, what are we doing? So if Bitcoin helps break the systems back, I'm all for it, because this is not working. It is not sustainable for the human race. Think about it. It's not sustainable, man. We have people that are grossly uneducated. I mean, just about the basics.
Yeah.
Just the conversation about that most people don't know, that when you think about that, you could really get philosophical on this, right? Like, what is value? Most people, it's a number. No, it's not a number.
Yeah. Gary, I really appreciate having you on, man. So it's funny. I wasn't sure if I wanted to, I kind of want to just casually talk to you about this just because it's been kind of a hot topic and everything. And I wasn't there. I don't know what happened between our friends. Okay, great. So I guess there was something that transpired between Dark and Joe. I was listening to your call last night, and they were both on last night. Yours is one of the few rooms that I see them both in still together. And one of the interesting kind of debates that's happening right now is, Dark has his thesis about the the big long, or the inverse short, whatever tickles your fancy in that regard. And he makes a compelling case. And I kind of heard you listening to these two guys talk. Joe gave his, I don't know if he gave a counter argument yesterday. I don't think they really went down that road yesterday. I think when Dark was making his case, you were kind of talking about, I just remember you saying, man, no, that's the part that excites me.
Yeah, well, look, I mean, I actually like the tension. I think it's very good.
Can I say something? I agree too. You do the debates. You had Joe.
Yeah, well, that's why I started doing the debates, because I started seeing people argue. I'm like, hey, like, these debates are designed to solve problems. Right now, we're just talking about innocuous things and going, hey, let's debate. But look, I believe communication is the solvent for all problems if you're honestly communicating.
Yes.
You're really intending to communicate. And Bitcoin, look, these two guys are awesome people.
Totally.
I know a lot of awesome human beings that don't get along with each other. Okay, I like Bitcoin's really interesting because it does bring a lot of different characteristics around. It's a very democracy type space, the Bitcoin industry as a whole. But early people to this space, man, I mean, some of these guys have been around a long time. Some of these guys are richer than sin. So they're going to have characters. And back to your point on the conversation, because Dark and I have a deep commodity background. Commodity investing is really different than equities. I mean, commodities mean that it is a fuel, it is a corn, it's a product that has weather risk, it has input risk, energy risk. Commodities are very, very different than, say, GameStop. The stock, and they behave differently, especially in supply crunch events. And that's what Dark's worried about. Dark sees a world where there's so much paper being traded around the strategies of the world, the micro strategies and the ETFs, that it is, and much of this is just paper. It's not real Bitcoin. And once there's a supply shock, that you'd have a run on Bitcoin, and there'll be a gap between 108 and who knows, because there's just, you can't get the coins. This concept comes up with, hey, what happens when there's not enough Bitcoin to buy? Now, for me and Joe, I'm not trying to talk with it. I have that viewpoint that this commodity could most certainly do that. In fact, I'm here for it. It will do it in my life. It'll do it. Oh, it's gonna It's going to tear people's faces off. However, I actually believe price solves everything. So we go to 185, you can have a lot of sellers. And then it's going to come down to 150 or 130. People are going to freak out. See, I think the shakeout, I don't agree that we're going to have this break moment. I do believe that's the way we're going to get 20% of the coins out of the old OG's hands by introducing extreme violence. Once this thing really starts to roll, see, notice that it's how calm it is. Bitcoin's calmer than the S&P right now. Volatility on Bitcoin is lower than the S&P today, okay, in the last month or two. That's a big deal. But I think it's a big deal because it's going to shake somebody up one morning. You're going to wake up and that's going to change. And I think in 16 years, there's a lot of families sitting on 10,000, 5,000, 3,000 Bitcoin at $300. When they see the price go to 100, look, people are selling Bitcoin. That's what's happening. They are selling Bitcoin, these old holders. And that's really healthy. It needs to happen. I think where the next shakeout comes, the price goes to 185 over an event, and then it comes down to 130, and all the wives are going to sit there and go, hey, this is bullshit, and we're not going to live like this for another 4 years. Because it is 4 years. See, the cool thing about Bitcoin, no human being has ever lost money if they held Bitcoin for 4 years. No matter what price you paid for it, okay? And the return, by the way, you started talking about returns at the very open. If I only get a 9 or 10% return from Bitcoin at $108,000, are you telling me you don't want that return for the next 20 years? 108, let's call it 100 grand, and you get a 10% yield for the next 10 years. Okay, that will beat almost every real estate property you could ever invest in.
100%.
And you don't have to call anybody and go, hey, I want to sell the property. You don't have to call a broker. You don't have to call my brother and go, hey, I want to get out of this fund now. And he goes, you can't get out of it. It's a 4-year hold. Okay, it's a perfect duration. You cannot, all you people that want to go out and build businesses, I hear from everyone. That's what Gary Cardone's doing. I'm not buying or investing in businesses right now. I'm buying Bitcoin. It's a better investment. I have no human error risk. I have no legal contracts. I have no lawyers to be included. I don't have to sign an NDA. I have no paperwork to file or to keep. All I have to do is show my account. That's what I bought. I don't have a clock. I don't have a boss. I don't have a government, a DOJ that can go, hey, you have to stop that behavior. It's phenomenal, dude. Phenomenal.
Yeah.
And I've been doing this my whole life. Literally, Bitcoin, I think God just put Bitcoin on the map just for me. Yeah, how self-centered are we, right? But literally, my whole career was set up for this exact trade, this life event. When you see one of these come by, you wouldn't want to miss it. Because if you think about how many great trades you've missed already, Mark, right? I mean, you look back and go, wow, if I would have just been paying a little more attention, if I wouldn't have been involved with that girl, I might have met that girl. If I wouldn't have been in that business, I might have another 3 zeros, right? So, people talk about not moving a house because they can't go get the interest rate they have is 4% and they don't want to pay 6%. I hear this shit all the time. I'm like, you're defining the value of your life over 2% on a $500,000 house. It's only 10 grand a year. What is wrong with you? You're going to stay in a zip code for $10,000 a year premium because you have a 4%. I think these mortgages are traps. They're coming and going. If you have a 2% mortgage, you're probably, I'm never going to sell this house because the rate's so low. That is insane.
Yeah. That's kind of a different discussion. Yeah. Just real quick, because you brought up the 4-year cycle. Do you think we're still on the 4-year cycle, or do you think we're done with that?
Where are you at today? We may still be in it, but we shouldn't. The only reason the 4-year cycle has ever really had an impact was the amount of Bitcoin that was contracting over every 4 years. We're at 450 a day now. 450 Bitcoin a day are being mined. 3 or 4 times that amount is being bought by strategy companies. So I don't think it matters anymore. And the volume, remember, the volume goes down over time. So in 3 years, you'll be at 225 Bitcoin a day being produced. It's look, this is you front end loaded the 21 million units. 16.5 million went out in the first 10 years, right? First 12 years. So you got all this volume out at really, really cheap prices, and it's created this behavior where if you've held this long from $3,000, you're very wealthy. So you're sitting here going, hey, do I sell it? Do I hold on to it? Look, this is a moment. This is what Max Kaiser calls the Cotillionaire event. And I've never heard that word before, but I am a Cotillionaire. And cotillion means that you're close enough to a new technology or a new form of money. You're so close that the value that you got in, it alters the entire game. The Cotillionaire becomes extremely powerful just because of the proximity he was to the event if he participated in it.
I like that word, cotillionaire. Yeah, man, like next level.
Next level. Yep.
Next level.
And that most certainly is happening, right? This is happening with Bitcoin. Everybody's going to kind of do the same thing. Okay? They're going to follow any kind of light they can. But when there is a North Star, Bitcoin, like your lifetime, you have not had a North Star that didn't change. Therefore, you've never had a North Star. North Star means it doesn't move, it doesn't change, it doesn't get dimmer. Okay, it's North Star, it does not change. Bitcoin is North Star. Everything else is getting ready to be measured against it. Because now you have a North Star, man. Yeah. Everyone's going to look at that one light and go, how did my real estate do to Bitcoin? How did my job do to Bitcoin? How did that investment in that private equity company that took me 15 years to exit, how did that do?
When did that happen for you, Gary? When did that happen for you? When was that where you flipped and you actually flipped to the Bitcoin standard?
Well, I don't ask anybody when they came into Bitcoin. I ask them when they started deploying extreme amounts of capital. And if the answer is they never did, I don't care. Move, next guy. You don't get it.
Right. Distinction here. Can I? I'm sorry. I don't mean to interrupt you, but I think you make an important point, and I want to make a distinction here because I told you, like in 2008, I was studying it, and in 2020, I finally put some skin in the game. To your point, it's like I don't care what you say. Show me when you're actually going to start putting some money in it. And I'm not playing at the same level as some of the people that we're talking about. I'm just saying I finally have some skin in the game, but I still wasn't measuring my value of like my house or my car or the things that I care about or what I spend my money on, movie tickets, whatever I'm doing. I didn't measure it off Bitcoin. It honestly wasn't until this year, going into your spaces, listening to the smart people that you have around you, the people you've attracted into your orbit. God bless you for that. And thank you, because now I'm one of those people, because I've been attracted into your space and I've been able to have access to people in your space that have expanded my mind. And I'm finally starting to calculate via a Bitcoin standard. So when I asked you, like, when was that trigger for you when you're like, wait a minute, like there was like a shifting point, like you might have already still been invested in it or putting money in it. But when you're like, oh crap, this is what I'm really doing.
The point I was trying to make, I always ask people what their average cost is, because average cost, when somebody at $300 tells me, hey, it's 300, I'm like, wow, you don't really get Bitcoin. This is the point I was trying to make. Right. Their average cost should have been going up every year. I mean, it was a monster mistake not to keep buying Bitcoin. Here's a good example, and I use this because he's such a big figure, and I don't mean to defame him in any way, but Chamath, however.
Chamath Palihapitiya.
5% of the entire supply of Bitcoin at one time at $300. He sold it all. Okay, now he's buying it all back. Now, if Chamath had just held on to the 5% position of Bitcoin, I think that's 1 million Bitcoin, he would be one of the richest people on the planet today. He would be sitting in Trump's office. Okay, and David Sachs is there. He's not. And that would mean something to Chamath and his entire Indian lineage. And the power of that, if you just think about that, Indian would be sitting in the Trump administration right now, and he'd be the richest guy in the world, and he would not have harmed his reputation by doing 6 SPACs that all turned into bullshit. So you start looking at some of these stories, and you're like, I mean, Dan Tira, I mean, this guy's got 30,000 Bitcoin. He's stacking. I mean, these people have become, this is a lifetime different opportunity. This is when you see one of these. Now, keep in mind, okay, I probably put the largest short on in the world in Europe on electricity. I'm that guy. Okay, so it was once I started buying Bitcoin, dude. Once I started buying 27, 32, 42, 45, 47, 52, 57, 55, 62, 66. I was selling everything. Every time I bought some more, I said, shit, how can I buy some more? Okay, the house I live in is worth $112 million. You're invited to come to my house in November, and when you show up here, you go, dude, this isn't worth $112 million. Well, of course it's not. But the $8 million that I borrowed to buy it, had I borrowed the damn money just to buy Bitcoin, it's worth $112,000.
Right.
$112 million. That was an opportunity. I missed it, dude. You can't sit there and miss these opportunities and go, well, gosh, I wasn't paying attention. Cool, you weren't paying attention, but you missed it. So don't start getting on me about seeing it. Like, don't look at me and go, wow, you're lucky. So many people have told me I was lucky. I was willing to stick my nose in the shit you were not willing to do. I was curious. And I had a problem. Okay? I think people that have a problem, as soon as you leave this phone call, your problems are going to get bigger because you're going to start thinking about what Gary said. Oh, wow, what do you mean by my problem? Bitcoin solves a tremendous amount of problems. And problem is friction, any kind of friction. Like friction, now problems for me are don't bother me. Like, okay, we're going to do a call at 2:15, 3:15. See you later. I don't need 30 phone calls. I don't need secretaries. Everybody texting me, pinging me. You sure you're there? All that work. Dude, I was taking a nap before I got here.
Yeah.
But I've made $2.5 million this week reading.
Well, that's
now,
sweet.
Why wouldn't you not want that? Okay, now here's a guy that, like, I have done nothing but work. Okay, like I can work anyone into the ground. Once I am in the game, I just don't even get tired. Like while y'all are taking breaks, I'm plowing through it.
Do you consider yourself a workaholic?
No, not at all. I think
okay. You have good balance, right? Yeah.
No, I have no balance.
No, I'm not getting anything right here.
No, but
I'm looking at the.
I'm not balanced though, but I'm not. I'm an obsessed personality. Obsession has served me very well, but I am not a balanced human being at all. I'm either in or I'm out. I'm just not. I'm not going to go play golf. I hate golf. I don't like golf. I don't care how nice of a guy you are. I don't want to spend 3 days on vacation on a beach doing nothing. I need to be intellectually stimulated and be doing something that I'd rather, write something or paint, or people should do whatever they want to do. But obsession has just served me really well. I'm most fun when I'm like completely into something.
Yeah.
I don't know why people dilute themselves and want to be average at everything. I don't need to be average at everything. I just need to be good at one thing. One thing makes me a master. Why would I want to be a master? Why you want to be a jack of all trades? Master, man. Master is a monster word. I am a master. I became a master at one thing at about 32 years old. I was like, whoa, dude, I have a gift. Now, I didn't know how I got the gift. Notice I didn't take credit for the gift. Like, I've always been a reasonable looking guy, just like you. I didn't do anything for these looks. Why would I get all vain about it? I did nothing. Zero, man. I won a lottery ticket,
Right.
I mean, seriously, no sense in me start thinking you know what I'm saying? I think you got to say your blessings. And like, why wouldn't people want to look for a once in a lifetime opportunity? They're everywhere. I mean, Mark Zuckerberg could have been Marc Kramer, okay? I mean, I wouldn't want to be Mark Zuckerberg, but the truth is these people were at the right time in the right place and they pulled the trigger. And that's it. You just got to get in the game somewhere. The cool thing about Bitcoin is you don't have to have any expertise anywhere. All you have to do is be willing to show up and get curious and ask yourself, why are so many smart people that you've never heard of? This is not JP Morgan. This isn't Jamie Dimon. These are rogue players. The more you look at our backgrounds, Dan Tapiro, that's the first thing I look at. See, I look at the intellectual capital going into an industry. You stick this much intellectual capital into an industry, okay? Like we know how to make change. Middle management doesn't make any changes. They just keep the status quo. It is guys like me. Me and my brothers had massive arguments over this because he's real estate, right? He doesn't want the corporate real estate market to fall over. And I'm like, bro, there's no way anyone's going. The great people of the planet are not going into offices. It's done. This is a overreaction to COVID. He's like, no, you're wrong. I said, no, I'm absolutely right. Because a guy like me will never, ever be forced into anything ever again. And because I don't have to. And by the way, you rip out the top 3% of your corporations, the 3% of the intellectual capital that runs that fucking company, they're not coming in the office. You're left with nothing but no culture, robots, middle management, vice presidents and directors. Company will collapse under its own mediocrity. Without those champions there, that HR has driven so many champions out of great businesses. And now we're all, dude, release us all into the wild, we will do major damage. Give us Bitcoin. You give me Bitcoin, dude, I'm going to fuck Visa and MasterCard. That's my goal. Like, we need to get rid of these draconian entities that are protected by three-letter regulators, protected to be monopolies, to gather your information. That's the only reason they must want all this. Okay, but like, it's a world that's bizarre to me that we're living in a world where two companies own 72% of all the plastic production, plastic credit cards. Two companies, 72% of all credit cards are handled by Visa and MasterCard in the United States. We have monopoly structure. Facebook and Google are bad companies. They own 80% of all the social media flows. They turn people off. I cannot keep a Facebook account. I've had 7 Instagram accounts. Someone has blocked me. Even my PR team is like, bro, they hate you. You know why? Because I think Mark Zuckerberg is scum. I think he stole shit from Winklevoss brothers, and he's been living a lie. He cooperated with the U.S. government at every agency level. He's a public company, and he didn't tell anybody. These are felonies. They're fucking felonies. Okay?
Yeah.
There should be a class action lawsuit against Meta today over his admitting to the world that he cooperated with every agency. Did he cooperate with the Israelis? Did he cooperate with the Secret Service in Turkey? Who else did he cooperate with? These are public companies, man. So I don't have any of those issues with Bitcoin. If I get super rich with Bitcoin, it's only way for me to balance out, talk about balance. How do I balance out people that have billions of dollars who are in the club and they want it to stay that way?
Right. You're making me think of Michael Saylor.
Well, his market cap's 108 billion. I mean, look, MicroStrategy will be worth more than Amazon is.
I think it was his keynote speech that I'm thinking of, and he was talking about the goal of getting to that level using the strategy that he has employed. But it's kind of going back to the asset itself in Bitcoin. It is that it's, to your point, it is not regulated. It is not centralized. It doesn't have a figurehead that can manipulate it or do something to it. And I think it's that purest aspect of it that is so compelling, especially for someone like you, like a rebel, a freedom, independent thinker. Nice to know that you're not, it's self-governed, but it's the self with an S, the big S, not the little self, but the big self.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gary, you want to promote something? I think you're doing one of those debates again tonight, right?
Yeah, so I do Monday afternoons at 5 p.m. on Spaces around Bitcoin and finance. Tuesdays, we hold a debate trying to perfect this debate cycle where we can hold a conversation of great, maybe tension, but do it in an educational way where the audience can hear two people. Look, debate for me is not about winning. It is about the audience. When 3,000 people get in a room and convene, I think it's my responsibility actually that, hey, 3,000 people in here. These are not robots, okay? I don't pay for any of these people. Not a bot guy. There's 4,000 people that show up Sunday mornings. When I started seeing that, I'm like, 4,000. I don't know any churches that have 4,000 people in them on Sunday mornings at 10:15. Do you? Anywhere in the world. When I saw that, dude, the first time I did it, there was 1,000 people. I'm like, I actually went and checked all the names. And like, somebody bodied me. No, like I've spent zero on advertising. No one really. I've done nothing to, super drive this thing since October. I've done, what is that? That's about, I don't know, 100 hours of video work on I Am. And it's just about getting through your whole thing about Sunday is I can't go to church. Sometimes I get around religious people. And the last time I was around a really religious person, he gave me I was going through a struggle. And I said, hey, help me out, Kendall. Help me out here, man. And so he goes into it. I didn't understand the word he said. Sermon XY, Romans 32-1 says this. I just need somebody to tell me. Like, I don't need all the mumbo jumbo. Okay, all the religious nomenclature. I don't even understand half the words. What I need is someone to say, hey, how do I find my brilliance? And if you can't even say that you have any brilliance, then that's probably worth looking at, right? Like, wow, you live every day and you don't think you have some brilliance in your life. Let's challenge that. I think it's worth challenging.
Duty calls. Who let the dogs out?
Yeah. I try to do this on every podcast so nobody tries to do a wrench attack on me because you're going to have to get too past very serious black dogs.
Oh, man, awesome. Gary,
Mark,
thank you. Thank you so much. And I'll probably be on your spaces tonight listening and in the chat room.
Look forward to it.
See you, brother.
I think it's debate on concentration in Bitcoin.
All right. Sounds good, man. Thank you again.
Appreciate it. Great meeting you.
Bye. Thank you for watching this episode of The Money Adjustment. If you want more, like, comment, and subscribe. You can follow me on X at Marc Kramer. Until the next episode, stay healthy and wealthy.
I'm going to go focus on something that is, makes my heart pump.